articles, Microsoft is going to have a Windows 11 launch event that sounds sillier than usual, a 6D usable experience, whatever that is, with a free NFT. So apparently, either Microsoft or these musicians are going on the blockchain. I'm not aware of a Microsoft blockchain. Anyway, Lord, I guess it's happening today. Maybe it's already over. Anyway, that sounds pretty silly. But anyway, Windows 11 is officially out. So this is something I heard about years ago. Plastic recycling is fake. Something like 85-90% of all the plastic that you put in the recycling bin is not in fact recycled. It's garbage. And what happened is the plastic manufacturing industry got the legal right to print a fake recycling symbol on the package, just to make you think it's recycling so people won't rebel against using plastic. And now there's a California law been proposed to actually undo this. Senator Ben Allen. So if he does that, the only stuff that is actually recycled is the number 1 and number 2, like milk, soap bottles and milk jugs. All the rest of this stuff that you put in the recycle bin, they just have to take out of the recycle bin and put in landfill at the other end, because there's no practical way to recycle it. Plastic recycling is all pretty much fake. So anyway, if they got to quit pretending that stuff was being recycled, then that might put pressure on people to go back to using something like paper for more products. Anyway, so Windows 11 is coming out, and have a free PDF available with all the security implications. And this was actually pretty interesting. This is a 69-page book, and it's got a lot of interesting new security features. So I read through this, and I said, well, I'm sort of interested. And in principle, most of these things existed in Windows 10, but they weren't turned on by default. But there's some pretty impressive stuff here, like supposedly there's a hardware chip, which is the hardware root of trust, and there's silicon-assisted security. So it has not only a TPM, it has another TPM built on the chip. And the point of this is that there is an attack, a simple attack, against TPM chips. You have signals going from the processor to the TPM, and you can intercept them by touching the wires. So they put a second TPM, I think that's this silicon-assisted security thing, in the processor. Might be the other one. But anyway, the point is, it sounds pretty good, and they claim this thing, the Pluton security processor, provides security at the chip, and they also make it sound like it's going to end all rootkits, which they've said before, but they said it's going to enforce valid signatures, especially if you turn on this secured core PC thing, which is not always going to be turned on. Then it will validate everything in the course of boot up, and you won't be able to have any kernel mode attacks at all. Even if you had a vulnerable kernel driver, you would not be able to inject any code, they say. So it'll be interesting to see this. I've been around this block many times. Microsoft always does this. They trumpet a description of a new security feature, which sounds like it's fantastic, and when you actually find out how they implement it, it never really is at all what it seems to be. Like they'll have this, but it will only be turned on half the time or something. Because the problem is, it's not that Microsoft are idiots, it's that they have an incredible burden of legacy code. There's tons of old stuff in there from long before this that they still need. So they make these new security principles, and then they have to carve out a whole bunch of exceptions. Anyway, but it's very interesting, and there's something called hardware protection of the stack, which I'd like to learn about. So anyway, having read about that, I thought maybe I should try it. And so Kirk, guy I work with a lot, sent me this link to Tom's Hardware. They say how to download it. Now you can download a Windows 11 ISO and do a clean install without even logging in or anything. Get it right from Microsoft. But of course, you can't install Windows 11 on anything that doesn't have a TPM2. But if you have a Mac and you're using VMware, you can put a virtual TPM2 in VMware. So I did all that, and it works. And so I got glorious Windows 11 here with all the features, and haven't done much with it yet. And I'll have one of these you can download. I'll talk about it a little later. You can download it and just copy mine if you like, and then you can play it in VMware Player. You cannot create this in VMware Player. You can create it in VMware Workstation or in VMware Fusion, but you can't create it in the free products, but they say you can play it in VMware Player. You need to encrypt the hard drive to get the TPM2 activated, which I did, and supposedly you can download my machine, unzip it, and play it on Windows. But I warn you, when we tried this with earlier versions, these Windows 11 VMs were so messed up that they messed up the computer underneath them, the host. You should be able to run it in VMware Workstation on Windows 10. You should have no problem with that, as long as it's one of the last 3 versions, 14, 15, and 16. That's what I was told, but I haven't tried it. Anyway, if somebody tries it, be aware, in the past, it actually kind of fouled up the host to where people quit using it. I've tried 2 earlier versions, and both of them caused the CPU run away at 100%, and the machine underneath, the Macintosh or the Windows machine underneath, started having weird graphics problems and stuff. So I hope they've made it a little better than the earlier versions. I'm going to see. But be prepared to deal with a pretty messed up system, I'd say, if you're going to try Windows 11 at the moment. Anyway, so Microsoft.NET Foundation is in trouble. See, they're trying to make open source software, apparently, with .NET, but Microsoft has these burdensome corporate obligations and priorities that really don't get along with the open source philosophy. So one of their members of the foundation has resigned, saying this is not good enough. I love .NET, but this thing is too messed up. Of course, the Microsoft culture doesn't really fit with the open source culture very well. So this is kind of natural growing pains. Yes, I think it's very much like another Vista. This is the way Microsoft always did it. Windows XP was good, but Vista was all messed up. Then Windows 7 was good. Then Windows 8 was all messed up. Windows 10 was good, and Windows 11 is all messed up. Microsoft always does this. So I wasn't interested in Windows 11 at all until I saw that list of security features. I tried some early versions. They were so messed up I was going to just ignore this. But so if you're willing to test it out, you can, but just be aware that it's only for people who are willing to try something pretty messed up. Anyway, so another article about Xi Jinping in the New York Times, I think very interesting. He's really done incredible things. I mean, he has crushed the tech sector, I think, from 10 trillion down to 1 trillion. He's ended their IPOs. He's taking over everything, and they say this is actually necessary. China is in big trouble. They just had a huge investment company fail that's likely to cause another Asian meltdown of the financial markets. They ran out of electricity, which is why they kicked all the Bitcoin miners out. China has some problems already caused by the vast growth of the tech sector. Oh, the Facebook outage. Well, I don't know anything about the Facebook outage. I mean, it was out for 6 hours, and people say it was a bad BGP update. But there hasn't been much of any good explanation I've seen. Pretty much people are just guessing. Other people had bad BGP update and recovered faster, though. One thing people said is because BGP routes went down, their DNS resolution went down, and they couldn't open the doors because they had smart locks that required their domain resolution to work. But I don't know if that's true. And they Facebook issued an official statement just saying there was a configuration error. That's all the information they give you. So it would be nice to know how it went down so long. It sure made a lot of funny jokes while I was down, but as far as any actual information, I didn't see any. This is why I like Cloudflare. When Cloudflare has a problem, they have, like, right away, a really good detailed write-up. So you understand what happened, why it happened, and how they fixed it so it won't happen again. And I don't think Facebook is going to do that at all. Most companies don't. Most companies just try to pretend it never happened. And therefore, I don't trust them much. It's hard to say whether the real engineers will have any consequences. We will never know, probably. That's the thing. This way, Facebook is... everybody's getting really mad at hating Facebook, but I don't think anything's going to happen to them. They do a lot of things. Going down for a while is the least of their problems. The leaks, the testimony before Congress, and the leaks of the papers from that whistleblower would appear to be a bigger problem, but I don't think the U.S. government has the will to actually do anything to Facebook. We'll see, but I highly doubt it. I think it will really all come down to whether Facebook is contributing to enough political campaigns. That's what Bill Gates said when they almost broke up his company. he said, what I learned is you have to donate to political campaigns. And I think that's right. You have to pay your bribe or there'll be nobody to fight for you. Yeah, I thought this is pretty awesome. Gatorade built a series of switches, computer controlled, that put out drops of water, and then they have strobe lights so they can actually trace out this running person by controlling the drops and controlling the light. You can basically make a 3D display screen out of the falling water. So they can actually make a running person out of the falling drops of water. They're pretty good too. Yeah, that's nice. I've seen simpler versions of this live and various other ones on the internet. You know, the technology is not too it's not impossible at all, but it's pretty cute. Anyway, I thought that was a nice one. Yeah. And this I thought was pretty amazing. Cranes mate for life. And it is a really, birds have almost no brains at all. They're pretty much running entirely on ROM. So this crane fixated on the male handler. She actually killed the first 2 male cranes they put in to mate with her. She saw them as alien, but she fixated on her male handler and regards him as her mate. And so he spends time with her, he regards him as her mate, and he actually managed to get her to reproduce with artificial insemination. And I think they call it fixation. It's baby ducks do this, right? Baby ducks, when they wake up, the first thing they see, they think that's their mommy, and they just follow it. There's quite a few animals that this way, birds especially. Birds have really simple programming. And so it's real because birds have very little ability to learn, and they just have very simple programming. Well, no, but I mean, this is a well-known thing about various birds. You can trick them into ridiculous things. If they don't see their mommy as the first thing when they hatch, then they end up doing something nuts. And anyway, so they have a long lifespan too, like 60, and that handler has guaranteed to continue there even into his retirement to be her mate, because she won't let other cranes in because they are aliens. She thinks she's human. So. Anyway, all right, last 10 minutes of this, so I'm going to stop this one.